Okay, so very good evening to everyone. We are live. Very good evening, Arpan, Durgesh, Nagesh, Kishore, Pushkar, Bhutikar, Rahul, Tripathi, Sujit, Suresh, Sylvia. How are you? Yeah, Vinod. I'm good. I hope all of you are doing well. Let's wait for a minute or two and then we will start. Yes, great. So as you know very well, we have taken this new initiative in which every like day it's 30-day challenge in which different topics will be covering. For first few days we took this IATF and for next few days from Monday onwards, like tomorrow also we take some topic of IATF and Monday onwards we are going to take some topics related to Six Sigma, right? And our new batch is also launching for Six Sigma in the coming uh, next week, basically 20th of this month, March, our new batch for Six Sigma combo green belt black belt is also launching, right? You will also get update about that. Okay, so yes, today's agenda is will be focusing on the IATF International Automotive Task Force 16949. We are taking up different clauses, right? Not necessarily from the beginning, because we have already have this structured training program, but we are taking some key clauses, and I'm just trying to explain you the major content, right? Okay, so let's get started, and after this I will also answer your question. Yeah, good evening, Sujit, Rahul, Sarvanan, Sachin. I'm good. Yes, Rahul More. Okay, so let's get started. And so today I'll be focusing upon the key requirements of quality manual. So if you see like clause number 7511, which talks about quality management system documentation. So there are different levels of documentation. What do you mean by different levels of documentation? For example, there are like 4 levels of documentation. Although if you see like this is not mentioned directly in any of the places or any of the standard, but that's the general interpretation that there are 4 different levels of documentation. Now, what are those 4 different levels of documentation? Here are the 4 different levels of documentation: level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Now, what do you mean by this level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4? If you see, level 1 is your Apex manual, and when we say Apex manual, that is basically is also called your quality manual, right? And for which we are going to discuss today, right? So quality manual, that's we say is the Apex highest level of documentation. And then level 2 we say is SOP, which is now called DP, documented process. It's one and the same thing. Level 3 is work instruction, a more detailed version, which is generally used by operators or generally at the shop floor. And then we have these forms and formats, right? So if you see, like these are the 4 level, a general interpretation that these are the 4 level of documentation. The level 1 is quality manual or Apex manual. Level 2 is SOP, standard operating procedure or documented process. Level 3, work instruction. Level 4, forms and formats. So today what we are going to do, like we are going to focus upon what's the requirement is there in the highest level of documentation that we say is the quality manual. So what is the requirement in the quality manual? This is what we are going to focus upon. And if quality manual is mandatory in IATF, first question, the answer is yes, absolutely yes. The quality manual is mandatory in IATF 16949. Which clause? If you see in this particular clause, like this one, 7511, this clause basically talks about quality manual. When we talk about ISO 9001 2015, in that particular clause, in that particular standard, quality manual is not mandatory. Yes, quality manual is not mandatory, although many people, many organization, many consultant, many implementer organization do make that. It's totally okay. It's good. However, in IATF 16949, quality manual is mandatory. Yes, quality manual is mandatory, right? So let's see the requirement which is there in clause 7.5.11 quality management system documentation. So let us try to understand. The organization quality management system, that means your quality management system, that QMS, shall be documented. So yes, there is a document requirement. It need to be documented and includes the quality manual. So where it is written that we need quality manual in IATF 16949. Here it is clearly written that you need a quality manual, which can be a series of documentation. So when we say it is not necessarily to be a bulk bulky kind of manual, whereas like what used to happen before, when consultant or when organizations used to make quality manual, they used to copy paste complete standard language. No, that's not a requirement. You need not to copy paste the complete standard language. There's no need for that. Nowadays, if you see, there's no requirement. You can do that if you want, but it can be a series of documents. Like it need not necessarily be one bulky kind of material. And if is it necessary that your quality manual need to be a hard copy? No, your quality manual can be in electronic copy. That means it's up to you whether you want to keep it hard or electronic. If you want to keep electronic, make sure that you have backup system in place. So there is no mandatory requirement for quality manual to be hard copy. So number one question, if quality manual is mandatory? Yes, quality manual is mandatory in IATF 16949. Is it mandatory that quality manual must be a bulky kind of quality manual? No, it's not like that. It can be a series of documentation. There could be a multiple document, series of document can also like make and constitute and make a quality manual. Is it necessary that quality manual has to be hard copy? No, it's not mandatory. Quality manual need not to be a hard copy. There is no mandatory requirement like that. The format and structure of quality manual is at the discretion of the organization and will depend upon organization size, culture, and complexity. So here, if you see, they have clearly indicated that it is up to you how you want to keep the structure and the format. It depends on the like what's the size, what's the knowledge of your people, how much your process is complex. So here they have clearly mentioned that quality manual structure is up to you. However, having said that, they have of course given some of the requirements which has to be covered in the quality manual. What are those requirements? We'll also talk about that. If a series of document is used, let's say we don't have this one bulky big quality manual. In that case, you can use a series of documents, different documentation. And what could that series of documentation can contain? They will talk about in A, B, C, D, right? Then a list shall be retained of the document. List need to be retained of the document comprise quality manual for the organization. So if you're maintaining a series of documents, then you definitely can have a list of that as a part of quality manual. The quality manual shall include minimum the following. Now here, what are the mandatory requirements which need to be covered in the quality manual? Like if you talk about quality manual, is the apex manual or top manual. And generally, what happens in quality manual, there are like so many different requirements which we will mention in the quality manual. But these requirements which I'll talk about are some of the mandatory requirements because it is written shall. Okay, so these are some of the mandatory requirements, although you can have more requirements. So let's see what are these. Number one, the scope of QMS, including details and justification for any exclusion. What does it mean? So when you talk about scope, that means what's your scope? So when we say scope, that means that is it with design, is it without design, and generally where this scope is written. This scope is written, should be written in your quality manual. This scope is written in your final like a certification which is given to your organization. A certification body issue your certificate, and in that this scope is written, right? So it should also include a justification for exclusion. That means something is not applicable. It should clearly write that. For example, the scope could be design and manufacturing of XYZ part, right? So that is basically will be your scope, right? So if there is any justification for exclusion, something is not applicable, you also write that this is not applicable, right? Let's say design is not applicable. Why design is not applicable? Because it is supplied by customer, or you are not responsible for design. So we mentioned that design is not applicable, right? So that's number one thing which you should write, right? Number two, documented process established for the quality management system or a reference to them. So what you can also write, what you should also write that what's the list of documented process, what are the list of SOP? You can give a reference that these are the list of SOP which is basically can be a part of your quality manual. The organization process and their sequence interaction, input, output, including type and external control of any outsourced process. So what does it mean? To identify what operations are happening in your organization, what are remote location? Let's say that your core manufacturing, your production, your quality, your purchase is happening within your organization, but your human resource, your design is at remote location. Your warehouse is at remote location. What does that mean? That remote location are those locations which are basically supporting to main site. That's what we say is a remote location, right? So remote location are supporting to main site, and those remote location could be your design, your marketing, right? So you identify what's their interaction, how they're interacting with each other, right? You also identify what is the input and what is the output. Generally, it's not necessarily that you identify this here. You can also identify that as a part of your SOP, standard operating procedure. That will also be good enough. And you also identify, are there any outsourced process? So outsourced process could be like wherein your material goes out of plant and some like job work is carried out, or even some services provided. That is called outsourced process. So outsourced process could be calibration, could be some job work, right? Let's say plating. Your material goes out of your company, the plating is done, and then come back to your organization. Then in that case, that will be called outsourced process. Or even annual maintenance contract of machine is also outsourced process. Like it's basically a service, right? Calibration is outsourced process. Basically, you can also say that. What's the control? You identify what kind of control do you have on the outsourced process. That also you identify, right? A document, for example, table or list or a matrix. So if you say this matrix is cut, that means in the sanction interpretation, basically this line they have taken from sanction interpretation. This is blue. Color blue means this has been updated in sanction interpretation. If you don't know what is sanction interpretation, so sanction interpretation are these small updates with respect to IATF standard. Whatever is written in the sanction interpretation, that is something which need to be followed. And from where you get this latest sanction interpretation, you visit this website like www.iatf global oversight.org. There you will find the latest like sanction interpretation. You will be able to find latest sanction interpretation. So in the sanction interpretation, if you see, they have clearly mentioned that you need to like identify what, indicate where the organization QMS, their customer specific requirements are addressed. That means you here identify CSR. What is your customer specific requirements? So customer specific requirements are the additional requirements with respect to IATF standard. So let's say customer says that something need to be done, right? And they have some additional requirements about record retention. They have additional requirements related to some CPK or CP value or PPK value. They have additional requirement with respect to some documentation, additional requirements with respect to, let's say, your layout audit or layered procedure audit. Then you link that requirement with your quality management system. So whatever is required is indicated in the customer specific requirements. You indicate that in your quality management system. You link that with your quality management system. That's the meaning of your customer specific requirement. It could be a matrix, it could be a table. So basically they cut this table matrix. They said it could be anything. It could be need not to be matrix. It can be matrix. It can be a list. It can be a table. It can be anything. So just to give that flexibility, though they have removed this matrix, but need not to be matrix. It can be any other thing. So if you see note, what is note? Note is for suggestion. So wherever shall is written, it's a mandatory requirement. Wherever note is written, that is basically a recommendation. Okay. So matrix, how the requirements of the automotive QMS standard are addressed by the organization process may be used to assist with the linkages to the organization process and the automotive QMS. This is what I talked about, right? You identify where and how that requirement can be linked of customer, how customer specific requirements can be linked with your quality management system. That means in which procedure, in which format, in which work instruction, the customer specific requirements can be linked so that your people remember. Otherwise, it's very difficult for someone to read the complete, everyone to read, customer given supplier quality manual. They are very bulky most of the time. So you identify those requirements and link that with your quality management system with the help of CSR. That means customer specific requirements matrix. Okay. So if you see, like these are like some of the mandatory requirements, although like these are some of the mandatory requirements. However, if you see, in addition to that, the organization who also indicates other requirements in the quality manual. What are those other requirements in the quality manual? If you see in the quality manual, people will write scope, they will write list of documented process, CSR metrics, they will give indication to like process interaction or process, how the processes are related with each other. And then they can also mention your company mission, or could be a quality policy, or could be your objective, right? There are tons of different requirements which is also given. What are your key objectives, right? They will also identify that, although those are not yet mandatory requirements, like but yes, if you make a quality policy, mission, objectives, and corporate profile, where is your remote location, which location. So if you identify that, then it's also good enough. But these four are mandatory, like scope, list of documented process, process and sequence, CSR metrics. These are mandatory. Other than that, you also identify company mission, vision, policy, objectives, corporate profile. So these things also will link in your quality manual. I'll also show quickly the case study for CSR metrics, and like I'll also show you some example, right, so that you get reference. So quality manual can be a one main document, bulky, like wherein you have different documentation in one particular document, or it can be a series of multiple documents, right? So yes, you require this, and the matrix or table will be good enough. So we talked about this. And is it mandatory? Yes, it is mandatory. Quality manual in IATF is mandatory. How to implement? Identify scope. Is any exclusion? You identify that, right? Is it with design, without design? Without design, you can write that customer is responsible for design. Give a reference to documented process sequence and interaction, linkages of CSR with the QMS. That's something which need to be done. Okay. Now, what I'll do, I'll also show you a quick example so that you get more clarity. Okay, so what I'm going to do, right, I will show you a quick example, okay, so that you get more clarity. I might not be able to show all the examples, but maybe some of the key studies like scope, CSR metrics. Okay, some of the things I'll be able to show you. Yes, we do have a course on our lead implementer program, our lead implementer training in our IATF website. Like you can go to IATF, you can go to our www.submastery.com. In that submastery.com, you will find we do have a course on lead implementer course. Basically, in that lead implementer course, we have covered in detail, about IATF, how to implement IATF, and there you get this quality manual, even, these templates also as a part of that particular program. So in that lead implementer course, I do have mentioned, I have given toolkit of IATF, wherein you also get this editable procedure, editable quality manual, right, and editable formats as well. So let me show you the example of quality manual so that you get some more clarity. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to share the example. Okay, so let me open this, and then I'll be sharing example with you. Not the complete, but some of the things definitely I'll be able to show you, right? Okay, so here is the example quality manual. This is just an example quality manual of XYZ, right? And here, if you see, I'll show you the scope, right? Okay, so it's opening. Right. So if you see this like a quality manual, this is just an example. And yeah, it's open. So this is a table of content, right? And if you see like how this is made, right? This is made in such a way that it is made as per the clause, right? I've covered the clauses, and there are some different annexure which is also given, right? For example, you can see this might be looking very, very small to you, right? Let me come to the main agenda, right? Okay, so let me give you an example of scope, like how exactly you write scope. So I'm going to give an example how exactly you will write this scope, right? Right. So if you see this particular, okay, if you see like this, right, scope. So what is scope, right? Here, for example, you can see location manager, product die casting, just an example. Manufacturing of die casting part. You can also write manufacturing like design and manufacturing. You could have also written design and manufacturing. So when you could have written design and manufacturing die casting part, or to be sheet metal parts or whatever it is. Let's say if you are not responsible for design, customer is responsible for design. In that case, you don't write this design thing, right? You can skip this design and then you can write this exclusion. Why do you say that design is not applicable? So you here you write, in exclusion, you say that your product design, you are not responsible. Why you are not responsible? Because that is something which is basically supplied by customer, and that's not a part of the commitment. So exclusion, this is what you say is a justification for exclusion. Okay. In a similar way, you can mention about is there any customer specific requirement? This is just for reference. You can mention your remote location detail. You can mention your company profile. You can also mention that where is your remote location, what work they carried out. Okay. So this is just an example like that. You can write the policy. You can write the objectives. Again, you can write number of different other things also will also become part of this quality manual. Okay. Now let me show you like some more part, and let us take this reference and give this reference of master list of documented process. Like here you can mention what are your list of documented process. You also mention that list of documented process, right? And can give this as a reference. Obviously, this procedure will be separately made and should be there, but you can give this list a part, or you can make this list a part of your quality manual, right? Here you mention who is responsible, what are the list, and which department is responsible, what's the date, like that. Okay. Okay. And here, if you see, you can mention like how your processes are related with each other, right? You can also identify what are the different processes, what are the different processes which are there in your organization, right? Marketing, purchase, and store, right? You can also identify this, and then you can also write that what are your remote location, where any like support activities happening, what's the name, what's the location, is there any outsourced process. You also mention about that, and you also mention that how these are related with each other. Okay. So I'm just showing you a quick overview, right? I'm not going in very much in detail, but I'm just, I'm just showing you a quick overview of that. And here, if you see, this is your CSR matrix. So what is the CSR matrix? So CSR matrix, there are multiple ways to make the CSR matrix. So this is the easiest way, right? And just as an example, I'm giving you this reference. Let's say there's a company and of XYZ company. Let's say Ashok Leyland, just for an example. And this is very important. Like here you mentioned serial number, area, requirement, and linkage with QMS. So one thing which is very, very important, that how that is linked with your QMS, how the customer requirement is linked with your quality management system, how the customer requirements is linked with your quality management system. Let's take an example. Let me take an example. Let's say layered procedure audit. Now the customer says that you need to carry out the layered procedure audit. So what does layered procedure audit mean? That different level of people, starting from the, let's say, operator or plant up to plant head, they are carrying out the procedure audit. When it's a layered procedure audit, it's a cross audit. It can be done in same sheet. It can be done with different sheets. So procedure audit is carried out in a layered way. That means different level of people carry out the audit, so that there is accountability and so that you have more stronger systems in place. So if you see, audit procedure involve multiple levels. That's the customer requirement from management, from line supervisor to management. Top management shall also conduct once per week, or process control audit once per week. Need not necessarily 100% process need not to be covered, but they may cover like certain processes, right, as per the weekly schedule. So what do? Like you link that with your quality management system, you link that with your procedure, you mention in your procedure that top management has to do, and then you link further with your procedure audit schedule, right? So that's how like you can do that. So very quickly, I have shown you the requirements of quality manual. So you also make this, and others also, like as a part of, you can make that as a part of quality manual. I hope you enjoyed this and got a lot of learning. Okay, so this is how you need to make the quality manual, and these are like mandatory requirements of the quality manual. For example, it's your CSR metrics, your scope, your list of documented process, okay, and your process sequence interaction. You can also mention your company mission, vision, corporate profile, policy, objectives also, and can also make that a part of your quality manual. I hope you got an understanding, and thank you very much. If you want to know more details, please visit www.submastery.com and do share this video with your friends. Like this, press the bell notification icon if you are watching this in YouTube, or also share this with your friends in WhatsApp, with your official group, so that they also get to know about quality management system. So thank you very much again for watching this. We'll see you in another video. Okay, so what I did today, I gave you an overview of quality manual. I answered a few of the questions. Now, if you have any question, let me know. I'll be happy to answer. What is the difference supplier and customer organization quality manual includes? Supplier and quality. Okay, see, customer given manual is basically your supplier quality manual. Customer given information, okay, is your supplier, is CSR. From there you will take the CSR. Customer के जो manuals है ना, उनको supplier quality manual कहते हैं, which is for you, right? Your customer given manual will be called supplier quality manual, okay, and from there you will take out the CSR, customer specific requirements. If you make your own कस्टमर क्वालिटी मैनुअल करके कुछ नहीं होता, तो वैसे कस्टमर क्वालिटी मैनुअल ऐसी टर्म यूज नहीं होती. कस्टमर एक्चुअली हैव दिस क्वालिटी मैनुअल व्हिच दे एक्चुअली मेक फॉर सप्लायर. दैट इज एक्चुअली सप्लायर क्वालिटी मैनुअल. Sometimes people say customer quality manual, but it is not customer quality manual. It is customer quality. It is a supplier quality manual by customer. Did you understand? Yeah, you can raise hand if you have any question, or if you believe some question is unanswered. Yeah. Okay. Right. Ganesh, if you have any question, you can ask. Yes, tomorrow also we'll do at 10 p.m. Yeah. Who prepared quality manual? MRO consultant. I think company process owner. Basically, like if you are doing it for first time, yes, MR like consultant generally help you in preparation. If you are competent, then yeah, quality system guy can also prepare. Quality system भी वाला बंदा भी prepare कर सकता है. Generally, MR Durgesh. If they are competent, they can make their own. If you have hired a consultant, Durgesh Mishra, then definitely consultant help you in preparation of that. So yeah, answer. Consultant generally prepare करते हैं. If not, then quality system guy, they have to prepare. उनको तो prepare करना ही है ना. Okay. Do we have to write detailed procedure in manual, or list is sufficient? List is sufficient, Shilpa. You can give detailed procedure तो बने हुए ना. You already have the detail. You need to have detailed procedure. But here in this quality manual, you can give a reference to list. That will be sufficient. यहाँ लिखने की आवश्यकता थोड़ी है मैनुअल में. Why do you need to go to copy paste? Manual is already there. You just need to give the list or reference to them. Role of MR management representative. Of this word is not used, but still lot many companies are still using this, right? So management representative will do a lot of things like internal audit, planning, internal audit coordination with certification body, coordination with consultant, updation of quality management system, right? Or maybe system changes, coordination. These are some of the activities which quality system guy will do. Yeah, Sahil Kumar. Okay. Durgesh, how we can identify objectives? Objectives are identified from quality policy. The input of objectives could be quality policy, number one. It could be like the objectives can also be derived from your management reviews, audits, right? But generally it is derived from the object, quality policy. Let's say in quality policy, you say that we will ensure employee motivation. We'll ensure employee motivation. Employee motivation, just by saying employee motivation will not come. Okay. So in that case, like, what is your objective? You will monitor those measurable objective. Employee motivation will, how we can ensure employee motivation? By these objectives, by monitoring these objectives. Which objective? Attrition rate. Number of Kaizen per month per employee. Number of training hours per employee per month. Samjhe? So this is how like you will identify objectives. So objectives will come from your top management, will come from policy. How do you need to write roles and responsibility manual? Yes, Shilpa, it's good if you write. Otherwise, if it is with HR, human resource, that will be good enough. Not mandatory, but if you write it good. Otherwise, if it is with HR, then also it's good. Otherwise, you can make it a part of manual. Okay, Shilpa. You can make it a part of manual, or else it can be with HR. That also will be good enough. May not mandatory कि वही लिखनी है. Saleh Riyaj. What is the procedure to make KPI? How to set target? As I said, the KPI will be derived from company overall policy, mission, objectives, company overall strategy, top management, what they want. Generally from policies, the framework, the objectives will come out. How to set target? Target set could be target number one. It is generally can be given by customer. For example, sometimes customer give you customer complaint target, customer PPM target, customer line rejection target, customer warranty target. Sometimes they may also pressure you for internal rejection target. So one input could be customer given target. The other could be management given targets. The basically management given target should be based on previous performance. So how you set objective based on previous performance. You say every year I need to improve 20%, 30% year on year. This year I will improve my productivity by 10%. I'll reduce my rejection by 30%. Okay, so based on previous data, you can set targets. The sheet which I have shared, Excel sheet, that's a that sheet definitely, like all the Editable templates. Those who are paid members in the community, those who are in those specific programs. Let's say somebody is in lead implementer course. We do have lead implementer training, lead implementer course. There, those people get that. Okay. And yeah, does other department have any role while preparing quality manual? You can involve them. But practically I don't see other department get involved. You can involve them, but most of the time I see only consultant or system people. They only make quality manual. Other people are more concerned. They have more relationship with the SOP. That will be good enough. उनको SOP ज़्यादा समझ में आती है, or forms and formats are more related to them rather than quality manual. So I have seen that not other department are not that interested, and they don't have any major role. You can involve them as a CFT, but in general, I have seen system people only make that, consultant only prepare that. उसको देखता भी कौन है? Who see that? Only certification body and top management and system people only see that. क्वालिटी मैनुअल नहीं भी होता तो भी चल जाता. आई डोंट थिंक क्वालिटी मैनुअल हैज टू मच रेलेवेंस. या ओके. चलिए, so if you enjoyed this today's session, tomorrow also we are going to meet at 10 p.m. Coming time will change our, maybe Monday we'll try to do this in YouTube, and Monday Coach Ashish sir, he will be delivering. Yeah, okay. AIG वीडियो की उसे हुआ क्या अभी मेरे हमारे यहाँ AIG वीडियो. हाँ, क्यों नहीं हो रहा? मल्टीपल प्लेस ही AIG वीडियो इज यूज. many companies have already demanded Israel. Many companies have already demanded. Many OEMs have already demanded. But certification bodies are also giving not non-conformity, but they have also demanded. Some companies have started doing that, not at 100% level, but they have started using at new product development level. At least some people are at preparation level. So limited companies are using that, but these are popular hoga. It may take maybe a year or two. Yeah, thank you very much, Amar, Sahil. Thanks a lot. Durgesh, Sahil, thank you. Good night. Take care. Let's meet again. Amar, Deepak, Ankit, Dhyaneshwar, Durgesh, Ganesh, Mahesh, Saket, Nadeem, Bhatt, yeah, Pushkar, Rahul Tripathi, Sahil, Satish, Shilpa. Thank you very much. Sylvia, Venkatam. Yeah, thank you. Good night. Take care. Let's meet again. All right. Okay. Good night. Bye.